So I'm an ex-taxi driver. I drove taxi for 3 years, night shift in Los Angeles. I was a teenager in Los Angeles. I left, came here, went back, and so I was part of my years as an adult in Los Angeles. But it wasn't until I got in the taxi, 12 hours a night, 6 nights a week, that I got to know Los Angeles. All those layers beneath the layers of everyday life. And here in Bombay, the same thing happened to me, though not in a taxi. I had a project with 51 municipal secondary schools, putting computer literacy labs in each one of the schools, training the teachers, and supporting the project, which meant for those 5 years. And I had been already in Bombay 7 years prior, so during this next chapter of 5 years, visiting those 51 schools put me going between Kulaba and Borivali, going between Bendi Bazaar and Mulund, on the trains and in taxis and on foot. And I got to know Bombay. And I also got to know all the best street food in all the neighborhoods. So, taxi drivers. Our taxi drivers write the city. They move through the streets. They collect its stories. They are confronted with its changes. Huts disappear and reappear. Buildings rise up where there was something else. Mills die. Whole sections of the city and its people are no longer there, or they're no longer the same. Roads get widened. Flyovers are built. People shift further north, or they shift further east. There are these new territories. We may or may not pass through them. But taxis are constantly tracking these changes as their passengers bring them through the newness, and they experience the absence of the old. The city and its people are their constant, present, and the rhythm and the changes stick to them. Because something different happens when people enter the closed personal space of a vehicle and talk to each other. It's a heightened intimacy between the back seat and the front seat, and what the driver gets to see in the rear view mirror. So the story of the city pools in their taxis, and these stories are theirs to tell. And so in Bombay, there we were, me and the taxi drivers, and we both, for the most part, weren't from here. It's a funny word, from. I've been in this city now 17 years. And so just now somebody asked me, are you from Bombay? And I said, yeah, but from means born, right? So I'm not from Bombay. And they were not from Bombay. They were usually from UP or Bihar. And I would ask them how long they had lived in Bombay, and I would hear things like 30 years, 15 years, 20 years. And so I wondered, when does one stop being from somewhere? Or actually, when does one start being from somewhere new? Or being also from somewhere new? Can we be from more than one place? Which was really, can I be from more than one place? So exploring the multiplicity of home. My home is here, and my home is there. And when does this newer home become home, and in what way is it home? What do we gain, and what do we leave behind? But then the taxi driver's context and my context was different, of course. But I heard stories from their home. Most of them had land, tractors, kua, crops, and families that do kheti-badi. But now I want to tell you another migrant story. And this story helped crystallize the migrant lens of my taxi project. I have a good friend that some of you in the audience know. He's more like a son. He's a Maharaj from Rajasthan, Udaipur district. He cooks for a lot of Gujarati families. I know him and his friends, and I see how they're related to here in Bombay. But I go to his village. His mother's about my age. I know his wife, all his kids. I go and spend time in his village. They let me milk the water buffaloes and go out and cut the wheat. And I see they have land, they have community, they have a buzzing, intricate life, they have Egypt, they have community. So it's so different from the way that they're treated when they are here. So when the taxi drivers tell me of their back home, I see it. But when they are here, in a sense, they're scorned. They're complained about, certainly. They're thought of as problems or rough, or sometimes we don't see them at all. And yet they carry inside them this other home, where they have land, where they grow crops, where they have bins. It's their double life that they carry inside them. Like mine, the double life I carry inside me, like all migrants carry inside themselves. We are who we are here and who we are there. But sometimes I think we in Bombay, forget the taxi drivers, have a who they are there. And we rarely give them the dignity of what that there is. Okay, so what brings the taxi drivers here? The short answer is, of course, paisa. But what are the particularities? What made them leave exactly? I'm talking about the impetus at that moment in time. How old were they? What were they carrying in their hands when they left and got on that train? Did they go to the station alone? Did they arrive alone? Did they run away, or did they take the blessings of their family? How much schooling did they have? Why did they leave school? What did Bombay feel like when they first got off the train on that first day? Where did they go and why? Did they do other jobs before they started taxis? What were their dreams when they came, and what are their dreams now? Do they want to return? Do they want to return? Do they want to return? And what about this city that is being buffeted by this tufan of change, this incredible rush to copy the forms of these already created future cities, the city that is trying to turn itself into some imaginary? Do they feel they have a place in this city? And how is the city changing their daily routine with the mills closed, the mandis moving out, the malls moving in, the flyovers, the sea links? And what about their taxi line itself? All the shiny, tinny, sanitized Meru taxis, the canceling of the 25-year-old taxi and the loan burden they have to assume if they want to stay as a taxi driver. And all these kaali-peeli Marutis and Omnis and the disappearing Fiats. And actually the most ridiculous thing, this latest idea of the RTO of painting all the kaali-peeli taxis beige, that kind of says it all. Beige. This is what I talk about with them when I record our conversations. Migration and muluk, Bombay and change. I've recorded conversations with 25 drivers, They're oral histories, voices from the street of a rapidly changing city at the beginning of a new century. I post them as podcasts, and I park the audio files on a blog with their photos and my writing. So far, talking to you, I've only raised questions, and I haven't given any answers because I only have 15 minutes. And as with everything, their lives are complex, and the answers are multiple. But also, their answers aren't mine to tell. From my side, I'll say this. I claim Bombay as a home. It's my home too. It is also my home. I have my here, and I have my there, and I love the richness of seeing both as an outsider and loving both as an insider. As for the taxi drivers, I'll let them speak for themselves.